one point here about SEO content. Why does it still matter in today's internet? So just very simply speaking, without content, you can't rank. Content is a word that, in my opinion, gets thrown around. Content is the glue that keeps all of our marketing campaigns together, because you need content for social media, you need content for advertising, and you sure as hell still need content for SEO. And that's because you can't rank anything without content. So generally speaking, when it comes to the scope of SEO, I like to define content as anything that's on the website. So that could be a landing page, could be a blog post, it could be a resource guide. I think too often when we think about content from the scope of SEO, we just think about blog content. And what ends up happening is you just create blog content that's probably not the best fit for where that client needs to get to in terms of generating leads, customers, sales, whatever that is. So generally speaking, content is going to cover everything on the website. We want to look at it all. We want to understand the user journey in terms of how this content maps together and really how we can create that content on behalf of our clients. So again, content is an asset. We need that specific content asset targeting specific keywords if we want to rank for those specific queries. So there's all sorts of other things that you could say content is important to, from a user experience, from a link baiting point of view. I don't see it that much anymore because, to be honest, link building isn't about the skyscraper technique where you build a really good piece of content and then do outreach for it. We've even tested various PR campaigns where we built like an infographic or a data study on our website and try to do outreach for it. Doesn't really work like that anymore. People don't really have any interest in linking to it. So I don't look at content from like a linkable asset point of view, but content still needs links, because that content that you create, if you want to rank it, you've got to get links to it as well. So 3 parts here on content strategy about how to scale. I think this is one of the things about content that is so daunting and so challenging, that when it comes to SEO, the broad scope of SEO, not even talking about the broad scope of marketing, but the broad scope of SEO, there's different pockets of SEO. There's technical SEO, there's local SEO, there's link building, there's data and analytics and reporting, and there's content. All of these things require different parts of the brain and different sub skill sets of being a general SEO. And then when you try and break down content, there's so much that goes into content in terms of research, planning, the actual writing of the content, the editing, the uploading, the formatting, the adding the images. So obviously here at the Blueprint, I like to try and strip things down and simplify it for you so you can understand the things that really matter here. And I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again because it applies especially to content as well, is that not all content matters, just like not all keywords matter, because we always want to keep the main thing, right? So if we go back to pillar 1 of this program, which is market offer fit and designing an offer, I talked about it a lot in that module, which is keep the main thing, which is you are here, you exist to make your clients more money, right? If you keep that your main thing, and keep that your North Star, you will always have a business and you will always be able to grow no matter what happens in the market. Content needs to support that, because clients are paying you to get them more customers. And if content is going to be the asset that you rank, that content needs to support that vision. So first and foremost, your content that you create for your clients should focus on bottom mid-funnel content. And we'll break that down in a second. But it also needs to be at the right level of intent, which I'll talk through with an example coming up. Just don't create content for the sake of creating content. Now, this is specifically about search content. If we were to extend this to content for YouTube or content for social, that wouldn't be the same. I look at content on social, and YouTube is actually the opposite. It's very top funnel. It's very much broader level intent. It doesn't have to be direct purchase intent, because if you try and create content for social that's too bottom funnel, it's going to look like an ad and no one's going to care about it. So social content and video content needs to be much more engaging, as opposed to much more focused on satisfying the queries at the mid and bottom funnel. But that's the beauty thing about search, and why search can be so impactful if you target this right, because we have the ability to create content to attack keywords that have a certain level of intent at the bottom and mid funnel. And I'll show you a graphic that gets into that in 1 second. So part 2 here is the advances in AI since I last created the content module, which was only about 18, 20 months ago, is really allowed us to create the content full scope. And that gives us so many advantages when it comes to this. One is, even if a client has a writer, it's easier to sell. It's so much easier to sell this when you're selling them a finished product. Even if they have a content writer, like writing 10 articles is a lot if you're not built to do it. So taking it soup to nuts, writing the content, much better. It's much easier to sell. And it's also much better to get the client results, which is ultimately going to shine a better light on you. Because if you're relying on the client to write the content, again, even if they have a writer, it could take them 5 months to write 10 content briefs, versus if you're doing it, especially with the tools and the process that I'm going to give you, you can get that done in 1, maybe 2 months, right? The more opportunities you have to rank, the more traffic, the more potential conversions, the more money your client, which is the more money that you're going to make yourself. So again, AI has given a tremendous amount of advancements here. I'm going to show you the tool that we use. Surprise, it's ChatGPT. We've tested all sorts of other tools. We love ChatGPT. We find it to be the most effective, and I'll give you that process as we get through this boot camp, which is not, hey, write me a blog post on how to optimize a website. It's feeding it very specific parts of the brief, section by section, asking it for iterations, asking it for sources, just making it as unique as possible, as opposed to just giving it a one massive prompt to write the whole thing. It's also easier to scope this out into, like, in terms of scoping, like forecasting results as well, if you're actually writing the content. So part 3 here is specialize and scale. So again, going back to module 1 here, I talk about this all the time. Like, the foundation of your agency is about who you're working with and what you're doing to get them results. If you are trying to work with e-commerce and then a dentist and then a doctor and then a lawyer, it's really hard to create content at scale for all those different types of businesses. Now, the next slide that I'm going to show you is a funnel, and it was for a proposal that we just did. We only work with law firms for context. This is a one-off pivot from a law firm. They're an investment firm that partners with law firms to get EB-5 visas for immigration attorneys. So I'll explain that in a second. But just going through that process of trying out what the keyword targeting should be for that business, which is not unsimilar to working with immigration attorneys, took so much more effort. Our team, you can see them having to stop their gears and slowly spin to get context around these things. So again, if you're trying to do 50 pieces of content over 6 months for an e-commerce store that sells glasses, right? Like the audience research, the type of content research, the formatting of that content, the necessary imagery, versus if you're only working with that type of business, or for us, for law firms, I'm going to show you our template suite that we have, that we're walking into campaigns. We don't really have to do that much research anymore, unless it's a different type of law that we haven't worked with. And once we do that, then we add it back to the database, and now we're continuously building on it. Scaling your business is so much easier when you specialize, but also maintaining your margins, reducing work, and getting better results for clients. Because now we know, and I have examples I can show you as we get through this, that within 5 to 10 days for some of our clients, when we build a piece of content, we're getting in that knowledge graph, which is now the AI stuff too, which we'll talk about, within 5 to 10 days, because we know exactly what that content needs to look like. Not only just a topic that also lends to the value of the client, but then also how to optimize that content to get it to rank for those queries. So for some really good queries in the legal space that are not like hire a DUI attorney, but what to do in Florida after a DUI accident, we're ranking them in the knowledge graph and driving traffic and rankings within a week or 2. So another thing that content can do, even if it doesn't drive direct conversions, it buys you some time in the ranking process for the true bottom funnel pages, the landing pages, the service pages, the product pages, whatever those are. You're buying yourself time, you're buying yourself grace for that client, because we go to that client, we're like, hey, look at 3 weeks, pretty good. You're already getting more traffic. You're not going to pull the trigger on us as fast, maybe move on or find some different things out. So those are 3 parts of the content strategy that are incredibly important here. Now we'll talk about the full funnel approach to content. So this is what I was talking about. So this right here is a graphic that's pulled directly from our agency's proposals. So this is what I was referring to in terms of when we do this for an injury or a DUI client, we use the exact same slide over and over again. Basically what we're showing here is the 3 levels of intent when it comes to a funnel, right? So the traditional marketing funnel just overlaid on top of a content and SEO targeting funnel. So awareness, discovery, action. Again, awareness is top funnel, discovery is mid funnel, deeper intent indicating a prospect is close to hiring an attorney. Awareness is high level searches that indicate a prospect is beginning their journey seeking attorney, then action looking to hire you. So when we have this laid out for the attorneys that we usually work with, which is usually injury, accident, divorce, stuff that we've done over and over again, we're not changing this. But this is for a company that does EB-5 visas, right? So they're not quite a law firm, but they partner with immigration law firms. The point I'm trying to make is I include this in here intentionally because the amount of context, how this proposal almost 3 times as long just to come up with these topics here to present to the prospect to make sure that we're talking about the right things, because we don't really know anything about this type of stuff. To have to research what an EB-5 is, all the ancillary searches that come around it, just during the proposal process a lot. Imagine if we were going to build 50 to 100 pages for this client over the next year. It would be a lot of work for our team to do, which then again slows things down, which costs the company money, which also requires more specialists on the back end. So again, when we're talking about content and team and roles, whenever you're fully productized and specialized to a single vertical, it really smooths things out in the back end of who you need to hire, because we're not asking our team to become experts in the legal process anymore. We're asking them to become experts in the ability to take a content brief, customize it to the needs of that client, use AI to write it, and then publish it. It's so much easier, which has reduced our cost all of our content is now coming from our team in Colombia, which we're paying a third of the price than we were paying before for our specialists. And imagine these people are Spanish speaking first, their English is great, and if they're good writers, we're able to put them into this process and basically 3x our output while reducing our costs at the same time. It's all because we're specialized. I want to touch on this real quick too and dive deeper, because I think it's really important for you to understand how to contextualize this to your specialization or anybody. And when we go through the sales stuff, this is inside of the proposal, access to this, but I want to talk you through this because it's incredibly important. So top funnel here, awareness, mapping to the type of content, video content, blog content. So for context, we don't create video content for our clients, but it's really more for illustrative purposes if they are creating video content, or if we want to influence that video content creation to give us topics to do, of course. Anyways, so the point is that YouTube is also the second most used search engine on the planet. So all these things that we're doing, they're not necessarily splintered and fractured. And also too, video content is incredibly important because it's really taken the place at the top funnel for where blog content used to be incredibly effective. What I mean by that is that Google no longer wants to just rank a blog post for everything now because of the fractured intent, because people are now searching other platforms for it. Because I personally is like, when I'm searching for stuff for my child, I'm going directly to YouTube because the information is far better. I like to consume video better, but it's also much easier than trying to navigate through the SERPs and Reddit and all this other stuff that's going on. So this is becoming a more and more important part about search because it's taking place in search, and YouTube is also searching. So again, we don't create video content. We're looking at adding that into our kind of scope of work, but we need to understand the type of content that needs to take place at the top of the funnel, right? So this is a good example as we go through this. EB5, literally this right here, is a visa that allows you to become a permanent US resident. That's really hard to do if you're not from this country. It's really hard to become a permanent US resident. I don't know the exact way to do it, but if you marry, to get a green card, if you've been here for 14 or 15 years living here legally, then you can do it. But this allows you to do it overnight. This is like one of the best ways, but it requires an $800,000 investment into a specific company in order to qualify for this visa. So this company here, what they were doing is, if you go to their YouTube channel, a lot of the content they're creating is all about the EB5 visa, right? And this is why intent is so important. It took us a while to really pick this up. But if all of your content is just about the EB5 visa, you're really only capturing a small part of the market, because how many people are really aware of what the EB5 visa is and searching for that content in the grand scheme of all the people that want a US visa or investors that are willing to invest in US resources? Not that much, right? So you're only scraping people that are currently in market, missing out on all the people that are truly top funnel in the awareness stage, right? So again, the awareness stage is people that are not necessarily looking for your services now, but they're in market. So this would be investors, this would be people that are looking for US visa, this would be high net worth individuals that are just not listed in the US, right? So what they had up here before is like EB5 updates and news. If you go to their YouTube channels, all like EB5 specific updates and news. And that's fine, but their videos are getting like 5 views because they're not capturing what YouTube and what top funnel search is great for, which is people that are in market. So instead, we suggested 3 opportunities for high net worth foreign investors. So what this does is this is getting people, before they're ready to start searching for what it is that you offer, this is a way to get in front of them, get them into your ecosystem and into your funnel. So this could be done with blog content, with video content, but video content is just another way to do it. Does that make sense? Just comment in the chat if that makes sense. This is just a way that we can get in front of people while they're not, before they're ready to search for what we're doing, right? So again, there's nothing in here about EB5. This is getting people before that they're ready to do that. So then we move down in the mid funnel. This is deeper intent indicating a prospect is close to hiring an attorney. So again, EB5 is not attorney. It was just blanketed text here. So now we're starting to get into the in-between stage, right? So people that are now in market, they're like, okay, I watched this video is one way to think about it. In this video, you could say an investment vehicle is an EB5 visa. This is an EB5 program, blah, blah, blah. Now that they are in the discovery phase, now they're starting to look for information about this. And also when it comes to search content, like when I told this prospect, I was like, look, we're actually probably not going to create any of this content for you. We might help you to ideate some topics since you're already doing this, but we're not going to do this for you. Our focus here is these 2 bottom funnels. We want to focus on mid to bottom funnel stuff because these are ones that are going to drive much higher intent. They're going to drive much more conversions to the client. So EB5 visa processing time, EB5 process, investor visa USA, Golden Visa USA, EB5 visa requirements. So all these things here again, are now one step above what we really want to get to, which is EB5 program, EB5 investment visa, EB5 regional centers. Regional centers these are like the investment vehicles that it takes. I know I'm an EB5 expert now, just by the way, because I've worked on this proposal. And then these are the different vehicles that we'd use to create those investment pages or service pages. Practice area pages for law firms is what we call them. PPC landing pages as well, because we've been pitching PPC to them. And up here is blog content and resource guides. So these two are really the main focus of what we want to focus on. And when it comes to the prioritization of this content, we always flip this funnel upside down. So we always start from the bottom funnel, meaning practice area pages or service pages. If they don't have them, product pages, essentially pages that the intent behind those pages is a direct hire action. If they see that page, or if we map the appropriate search to that page, they're actually looking to hire you. So with our law firms, we always start with practice area pages. And I'll show you we do that in just one second. Does that make sense? Drop me a comment over here if that funnel made sense. I might as well just make it that, because I feel like all the information I present here. So I want to do something outside of that, but I want you to be able to contextualize that, because just going through this and being able to map this to just a template too. Again, if you're only working with a certain type of client, which you should be, you need to be, if you really want to maximize your time and opportunities in this market, this is a template, right? So in our proposal, literally, we don't change any of this. This would be like DUI attorney near me, hire a DUI attorney, Miami DUI attorney. This is important too, right? So the other thing here, and this is what I talked to this prospect about, which really ultimately closed the deal, was the level of understanding that I'm able to have simply by understanding this content model here, which is we are looking for people that are pre-conversion, right? We want to use content that is deriving intent, that's pre-conversion intent. What I mean by that is, let's say, is a big part of what we do. If somebody is searching for DUI-based terms, we can derive where they are in this funnel based on what they're searching for, right? For example, what to do after a DUI in Florida. Like, that is something that's, okay, you probably just got a DUI. Here's what you should be doing, or you're somewhere post that, right? Now, we can't necessarily derive the intent, but we can probably understand the intent by that. If they're searching for that, then they probably haven't hired an attorney yet. That is post-incident, post-accident that we want to target, pre-hiring a client. So that is a perfect example of when we talk about like creating content. This is exactly what we're talking about. So this is why, again, understanding and working with the same type of client is so important, because the more that you do this, the more keywords and searches that you understand, the more conversations that you have with the client, you're like, oh, I get it now. And you can take this model and apply it to. And I promise you, if this is the type of information that you're putting in your proposals, the kind of conversations that you're having, you're going to blow their hair back, because no other agencies are talking about this. So just sending over a list of keywords like, yeah, this is 10,000 searches a month. The devil's in the details here, especially in today's search engines where there's so much noise, there's so much happening. We have to razor focus in on the opportunities that are given to us that are going to drive conversions, right? Obviously, the bottom funnel pages are great, but this is where you're going to be able to scale that traffic, because only so many people are searching for a DUI attorney in Miami every month. We can't change that. But if we can stack content on top of that, now is when we can really start to have really dramatic and scalable impacts for that. That makes sense? Awesome. All right, so let's talk about who owns this process real quick. So this is a slide actually from our project management bootcamp that we did. So internally, we have two main roles. We have our strategists or SEO strategists. They work on top of local SEO, PPC, and links. And then we have our content strategist who works with content writers and a content VA that we'll use to sometimes like upload content. So this is our team right now. This is our team that's local here. And really, in reality, this person is also managing this person. But because these two kind of operate in completely different pockets of the business, they really sit side by side. And these people, the content strategist, is responsible for pretty much everything that I'm going to present to you inside of the process. So in terms of the tools that we use here, there's really two main buckets that you need, in our opinion, for this. And of course, there's tools coming out the butt. There's Grammarly's of the world, which is great. There's all sorts of content tools that you can use, but really the core of what we do here is some sort of content AI, right? Something that can help you to research, outline, and write the content faster. Again, there's a ton of tools out there that can do this. We like ChatGPT. It's not only the most affordable, but honestly, I think it's the best just from a functionality point of view, because the ability to interact with it, go back and forth, it's connected to the internet. In the roadmap, you can trust. Like ChatGPT is going to continuously get better from now for the future, right? So building on type of ChatGPT is great. Philip asked if we use ClearScope. We used to use ClearScope. Not a huge fan of it anymore. It's also really expensive. So the next one is going to be an SEO optimizer. So Philip, this is where I would put ClearScope. We use Neuron Writer because it's cheap. This would be a tool. I'm not asking ChatGPT to optimize content or do keyword research. I'm really asking it to build the straw man of the article and then write sections of it for me. Then you use your SEO optimizer, even the SEO, to give us the SEO details, the keywords, density, the scores, all that type of stuff. So Philip, if you're comfortable with ClearScope, use it. Again, these are all great tools. They're all fine. I don't necessarily think that one is better than the other. I think that they're all the same thing. So it's really just a price thing for us. Neuron Writer is extremely cheap. That's why we use it. A lot of these tools are content AI writer, but again, we like ChatGPT much better. Somebody asks, is it okay to use AI generated content? Shouldn't it be later updated by a human writer? Yes. So we do not use AI to write the entire article. That's actually not true. We use it to write section by section, but it's edited. It's always edited by a human before going published. And that's the process that we're going to talk about as we get through this. The process that we're going to teach you is basically how a human writer can use AI to speed up the process. Again, I'm not going to ChatGPT and being like, hey, write me an article about the EB5 visa processing time, because then it's just going to spit out some garbage that Google's probably not going to index. It's not going to be good. Instead, what we're doing is we're using it to build. We have outline templates that we use as well, and we're asking it to write small sections. So we'll say, give me 250 words on why the EB5 visa is important, right? Then we'll read that, we'll edit it. We'll say, can you format this with bullet points? Can you go out and give me three sources that cite this, right? Of where you got this information from. So we're asking it to write it bit by bit. And again, we're building the outline too. So I would not use AI to write the whole thing, but it's more of a writing assistant than anything else. So let's just go through the content sprint deep dive real quick, just so I can show you the full process. Let's jump over here. Okay. So again, in the next bootcamp, what we're going to do is go through the exact SOP for this, but I wanted to give you like a visual overview of the full content process here. From the left-hand side is essentially where we're getting this is like the content topic ideation process, right? How are we coming up with content topics and how are we doing so quickly and scalably? It gets aggregated here into the content workbook. So let's talk about how we get the stuff in here. The first thing that we're doing is we're using the website quality audit to come up with pages that are already on the website. The fastest traffic turnaround that you're going to get is from existing content on the website. So if you recall, during the foundational sprint, the website quality audit, it gets a full crawl of everything inside of the website and aligns different data with it, so we can go through and we can understand what we want to do with that page from a content point of view. Do we want to rewrite it? Do we want to delete it? Do we want to refresh it? Essentially, then what we do is anything that's tagged with the refresh or rewrite or update, we take it and we migrate it over into the content work. If it is a rewrite, we're literally just saying, here's the topic, here's a page. We just basically fill it out with a topic from the actual thing. Guys, you don't have to ask about this stuff. I'm going to give this all to you. The SOP is coming. You're going to have access to all this stuff. So all that is coming from the website quality audit for existing pages. So again, the website quality audit is looking at the existing URLs on the website. If we deem that they need to be updated or rewritten, which we talked about in the website quality audit module, how you can analyze that, then we migrate it into content workbook for action, right? This is part of the process that we follow here, which is always making sure that the analysis is actually turning into some sort of action that we're going to take on the website. So the next one is the content gap. And this is done during the sales process, not to be confused with our keyword content gap that we'll talk about in a second. So during our sales process, what we're doing, since we only work with law firms, is we understand all of the pages that need to be created on that website ahead of time, because all we do is work with injury, accident, divorce lawyers. If you come over here, this is the personal injury tab here, and you guys cannot have access to this, so don't ask. This is our internal file. If I just come up here and I filter for practice area, what you'll see, and then I can then filter also by specific type of practice area that we want within personal injury, but pretty much all these are. So you can see here that we have a list of all of the essentially keyword or topic for these practice area pages that we need to have, right? So there are essentially 82 different services or practice areas within the personal injury space that a client should have on their website. And again, we can then filter this based on if they want to focus on car, truck, all these different things. And then we've also got a template here in terms of a page outline that aligns with how to create this. And again, don't worry guys, I'm going to cover all this in this bootcamp. I'm just going through the high level process here. So inside of here again, now since we have this already mapped out during the sales process, all we need to do is we just need to go to that client's website. So this is one of our clients here, right? Go to the client's website and we just simply say, okay, under personal injury, he's only got 4 of these, right? And during the sales process, we're saying, what practice areas do you focus on? Do you do trucking? Do you do bicycles? Do you do slip and fall, right? We have, again, all these different topics here that we've collected and we built into this template over time. We ask the prospect if they do them or not. So we can see here, he's only got 4. That's 8 pages right there that we've identified during the sales process that we're going to want to create. That's content that we need to create. It's a practice area page, it's a service page, but we need to create it. So you can see here too, we've basically got this audit of all these different things. And if the client has it, then we just mark it as live. And if it's missing, then it's missing. So you can see this one here, 1, 2, 3, here's 8 pages that we've identified before we even work with a client that we need to create. That's 8 pages of content that critical to this process, but it's also saving us time in the future because now we don't have to do any research. We've already identified this during the sales process. So the content gap process here, again, when you are specialized working with the same type of client over and over again, this becomes super easy. This work is already done for us. We already know before we even start the campaign that they need 8, 10, 12, 16 pages that we need to create. During this process here, what we do is we just add them into the content workbook. So again, over here in the content workbook, we just add in these practice area pages, right? And it will do the research later. I'll show you that. But essentially it'll be like slip and fall New York City lawyer, right? That's the topic. Slip and fall. This would be like slip and fall NYC, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Put in the fall 400 search volume. And then this would be a practice area page, right? So we have all these page templates in here already too. It's location page, etc. And then we just build this out over time. So right now we're just migrating stuff over here. We're going to get through the process of organizing and cleaning this, all this stuff. So this part here, again, we've now been through two things. One's a website quality audit. Any pages on the website that we identified want to be updated, drop them in the content workbook. Anything that we identified during the sales process that's missing in terms of new content that needs to be created, drop them in the content workbook. Another part that we like to do too, and so this depends on the scope. Let's say here, for example, it's between the pages that they have. Let's say we identified 30 pages here and 25 pages here. That's 55 pages of content. A lot of the times we'll just stop there. 55 pages of content will usually take us, depending on scope, between 4 and 6 months to create. We can stop there. Now, if we only get 3, if it's a brand new website, they don't have any content and they've got these pages already built and they're pretty well optimized, then we've got to come up with additional topics to come up from. So we'll do that in 2 ways. One is we'll run our competitive keyword gap or content gap analysis. I actually like to do this inside of our traffic projection tool. Inside of our traffic projection tool, you can feed it 3 competitors. It's going to take those 3 competitors, scrape all their keywords, and then pull it into a database, and it will automatically filter out any of the keywords that you're ranking for. So now a database of keywords that 3 competitors are ranking for that you can use to identify potential topics. If we haven't identified enough topics that are existing, that there already we know they're missing, then we'll run a content gap analysis using the traffic projection tool to understand, hey, these are some new topics that we can ideate and add in. And the final piece here is just using our content library. So this is the same here. So not only do we have practice area pages in here, but we've also got blog content, right? So this comes from continuously building and stacking all the content that we'd want to build for this potential client. For example, as we go through the keyword gap analysis or as we work with clients and we identify topics that we know work, we just add them back into. We're also working on this for family law, business law, criminal law. We have this for all the different practice areas that we're working with. So this is something that you don't have to do overnight. A lot of people look at this, oh my God, this is so much, this is overwhelming. The fact is that you don't have to do it in one sitting. You want to do this over time. So this is something that we've been building for months. And you can see we have a priority assigned to it. We've got it attacked by a silo, top, middle, funnel stage. And every time we build this content, we also now have a content brief that goes with it, which makes the writing in the future of this significantly easier. The keyword research is already done. When we talk scaling content, this is so critical to be able to do that because you can see here now coming up with content topics can take 20 hours of research and work, but our process is built to lean on the work that we've already done and lean on the templates and existing stuff that we have already from the past. So after we go through these 4 different stages here, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, until we get enough topics. And again, I would say we like to get like around 50 topics in here. And then keep in mind, once we get through those, that we can just go back through and do it again. And this is also built to focus on, in order of priority, pages that they already have, because the fastest turnaround in traffic is going to come from improving quality pages. And if they already have the page, then it probably tells you that it was an important topic that they deemed was important. So the work is done for us. 2 is practice area pages, service pages, product pages that they're missing that we know are important. And 3 would be looking at competitors if you don't have this built out already. So once we have everything in the content workbook, the next stage is to go through and just fill this out, right? So get the keyword data, put in some notes in here, just start to do some research around this stuff, and then go through and prioritize this. So we prioritize this by saying, okay, we scope out our clients' content based on words per month. So we usually do between 6,000 and 10,000 words per month. So if the average post is, call it 2,000 words, and we're doing 10,000 words per month, and that's 5 pages per month. So we would prioritize, it's all target month for March, and then April, and then such and such all the way down. So this process takes upwards of an hour, 2 hours, depending on it. It's also just good for context for the content person to really wrap their head around all this stuff. And then after that, we'll go to the client and say, are you guys good with this? Does this look right? This is what we want to tackle. This is what we want to focus on. And then from there, once we get their approval on it, then we start with a content brief process. So each post gets a content brief. And let me just pop open a content brief here so we are on the same page. about what this looks like. Our content brief process, a lot of people in this program ask for like, when do you do keyword research or on page? This is when we do it. And the reason why I don't like to do it before, because historically keyword research is done. You like do keyword research into a big file. And then that big file just sits there. Nothing really happens with it. Not a whole lot of action comes off the back of it. I remember when I was at my previous agency, after the agency that bought my agency, we used to do it was called the Keyword Matrix Universe. And they were so proud that it couldn't even run in Google Sheets because it had so many keywords in it. And I was like, why does somebody need 30,000 keywords? Are they going to go through it? Are they going to look at these keywords and be like, yeah, this is great? No, like they're not. Like it's too much. It's overwhelming. Keyword research only needs to take place, in my opinion, once you've identified that you are going to move forward with this topic and you're going to build this page. So that keyword research takes place right in here, right? And we'll talk about our keyword research process. We use SEMrush, very simple process. It's not overly complex. Again, a lot of this is done for us. So we have the title, the H1, the URL slug, the meta description written out, focus keywords, instruction for the writer. And then this is where we have the outline done, but this is also where we'll use ChatGPT to come in here and help us color things in, write it in. This is specifically for a practice area page template. This is an example of a content brief. You guys will get access to all this stuff. Do not fret. There's FAQs as well. So we then link to the content brief here for this page. Now, once we have the content brief done, then we will start the writing process. So we'll use ChatGPT to really do both these things. Again, if we have the templates done, that's great. If not, then we'll use ChatGPT to do the content brief. Then we will do the writing. Again, we use ChatGPT for that. There are some instances too, guys, where we will use a writer. Somebody asked about that. In some instances, if it's a newer one that we haven't worked with yet, we have 2, maybe 3 contract writers that we use. We pay them like, I think 8 cents per word or 6 cents per word. So they'll actually write it for us. But the problem with using writers is that anyone who's managed writers at scale knows that it's a pain, and this is just a much more seamless process. So after it's written, then we put it into our SEO tool. Again, we use Neuron Writer right now. This could be Surfer, this could be Content at Scale. It doesn't really matter. So we'll do all the formatting here. You can see it gives us all like the keyword, the density. We'll re-optimize this post. And somebody was also asking about the human element of it. This is where we're really going through and adding in a bunch of additional color, internal links, rewriting sections of this, really humanizing this content as well. And then after that, once this is done, we publish it, and then we just track everything inside of our project management system, which we are using ClickUp for, but we also use Asana too. And I'll be showing you guys all this stuff. So to wrap the ball on this today, then I'll get to questions. So that is the process overview. I don't want to get into anything more today. I've covered plenty of stuff here. In the coming sessions, we're going to be looking at the step-by-step SOP, right? This is our agency's actual SOP. We'll go through this step by step. We'll talk about content planning, content writing, publishing, and management. And then in the following sessions, we'll go over the shoulder. I'll show you how we use ChatGPT. I'll show you how we build outlines. You'll get access to all the templates. Everything is going to be here for you guys. That's it for my presentation. Hey, Ryan here. Hope you liked that video. If you want more, check out these 2 videos right here on the screen.